Hello guys, today I wanted to try something different. I wanted to try to make a reaction video, and the video I picked is made by the channel goes by the DM Lair, and it's a fairly big channel. It's got 128,000 subscriber and 24,000 view on this particular video. And I don't know the dude. I don't really have an opinion about him, but let's look and see. The video is a RPG world building. Finally get your player to care. And you know I like world building quite a bit. I made a few videos about it. But let's see if the DM Lair has good advice for me. Let's play this.
Are you frustrated that your players sometimes don't seem to care about your game world? Perhaps your players get really excited about their characters' cool new abilities and spells, or the magic items they just looted. But your game setting is a...
Okay, I'm playing the video at 1.25 speed because the guy talks slowly and I think it's more watchable like that. But so now, no, I don't get frustrated that my players don't care about the world because the world is not meant to be the star of the show. I want a good setting for the character to evolve in, but a good setting shouldn't steal the spotlight. A good setting should be credible and consistent so the player can treat it as real world and make assumption about it that makes sense. But you know, I told you before that I used to work in the video game industry, and I used to do a lot of a physics system for secondary motion of clothing and environment. And sometimes there would be a producer that would come to me, and if a bad one, complain that the secondary motion was too subtle, that we can barely notice it. But you know, that is how you know that the system is good. If you see it too much, it looks goofy. If you ever played a video game where like everything had a rubbery feel to it, that's probably why. It's there's probably some kind of like dumb producer that wanted everything turned up to 11 because they paid for a physics system for secondary motion, and they wanted to see it. Even though it make everything look like ass, well, the producer doesn't have an artistic eye, so he doesn't know, but he feel like he's getting his money's worth. Anyway, for world building and RPG, I think there's a similar phenomena. If the world become like the center stage, it's suboptimal. You can think of it like a movie or a theater play. The characters evolve in an environment, and if the environment is badly built, it's gonna distract from the protagonist. But if the environment is overbuilt or like become the focal point of the story, do the same. That's often a problem that a fantasy movie have. People write fantasy movie or direct fantasy movie, and they forget that movies are about people. You know, that's why like something like Game of Thrones was popular and was good in the first few seasons, because it was about the people in the world, not about the world. Oftentimes people like make those fantasy show and the character evolving in it or just become like vehicle to expose the world, to present the world. But that's not a good approach for it. It's about people. You need to be about people, about the characters. And if your player get all excited about their character's new power and abilities, you might be playing with sparkle trolls who are very self-centered, and they're at the table to tell the story of their character, not about the story of the party interacting with the world. Or maybe you have like power gamers who are not about the story at all, but just want to kill stuff, and they engage with the game more as if it was a board game, a computer game, or a war game. And if this is what your table is about, that's fine. But then don't get frustrated if they don't engage with your world. You have to manage your expectation.
a sideshow at best. Well, today we're going to discuss a simple trick you can use to make your players actually care about your game world and perhaps even begin to love it. Now, this trick actually has nothing to do with the details of your game world itself. You could be running your game in Eberron, Galorian, or your own homebrew set.
So I think the detail of your world does matter to make your player care. If you craft a world that is believable and feel like a real place, the player will tend to care more. Setting like Eberron's are goofy at best, and not to say stupid. And I'm not too familiar with Galarian, but judging from the cover there, like, and which is a thing that's okay to do, but like, it does seem like goofy as fuck as well. You know, it's like, what is that, like a crow person, and then some kind of like a angel, and I don't even know what that other thing is. Like a, I don't know, blue thing there in the corner. Anyway, if your world is ridiculous, it make immersion very difficult, and the plays just feel like a bunch of made-up stuff that doesn't matter. yeah, there might be like cool ideas here and there, but if none of them are make sense or explored more in depth or thought through, then it just feel like a goofy made up place and it doesn't matter. You feel like you're in a game.
Setting. It doesn't matter because what we're going to be talking about today is evolving your game world based on character decisions. In my experience, this is the factor that takes a setting from something that is
evolving the game world based on your character action is a good thing to do, but I think that's something for a higher level play. If you do it too soon, when the character are basically like nobodies, then again give the impression that the world doesn't exist for its own sake. It's just a place for the character to do stuff. If the character are low level nobodies, the world should be a bit indifferent to them. The world the world is indifferent to us, like to you viewer most likely, and to me, like unless you're somebody like Elon Musk watching or Jeff Bezos. Yeah, if you're just like a regular guy, the world doesn't care about us. It doesn't revolve around us, and it should be the same for a low level character. Characters should earn their place in the world.
Merely a rather unimportant backdrop for the players and elevates the game world to something that players become invested in and actually care about. The essence of this method involves the game master considering what player characters have said and done in the game world and then asking themselves, how would my world change as a result? And is that change positive or negative? When the characters stop a war or prevent a lich from destroying a...
Okay, I like that he mentioned the possibility of negative change as well, that positive, because that's something that can be interesting. It's often hard to consider the implication of our action in the long run, especially when those actions impact society in a larger manner. You can think of like all the policy in the last 100 years that have been implemented that sounded good on paper, but had disastrous consequences to society. You know, the thing like welfare, the birth control pill, women right to vote, sexual liberation, industrial revolution, or public education. Or we can look at places that, like some places like get rid of the wolves, and then it got all kind of like a consequence to the environment because of it fuck up the ecological balance. Anyway, could make a list that goes on and on, but the same could and should happen in your game world. Unforeseen consequences. And it can go the other way around as well. What if a big bad guy like is about to take control of a region, and maybe he's depicted like as a real nasty guy, like kind of like Hitler is depicted in modern Jewish media, but then the PC either ignore the threat or fail to stop him, and then it turns out that the guy is pretty alright. He's not bad at all. Maybe he's in fact a great ruler. Anyway, I don't want to go too far into that specific example, but let's see what he has to say.
A city and raising an undead horde, the king throws them a party, hands over the key to the treasury, and the crowd goes wild. But what happens when they fail?
But now you talk about a lich trying to take over here, and a lich is an obvious bad guy. So if the lich succeed, it's a clear negative. If you use people as threat, then you can make situations that are a little more complex. And not every player is going to be into that. Like some players don't enjoy a complex narrative. They want more clear black and white. They want to feel like heroes and kill the bad stuff, and that's fine. You have to know what your player are after, and also they have to know what you have to offer and what kind of game you want to put on when you run. Again, this is about managing expectation.
Happens when the war rages on, or the lich succeeds in his diabolical plan. And even when the characters win, how does this affect the world at large? What are the positive and negative impacts of their successes and failures? And how do those impacts change the world in which the campaign is taking place, or in which your next campaign will take place? You see, characters make many choices. They have their own goals, sometimes ones that even conflict with other characters' goals. They make allies, make enemies, are betrayed, and sometimes are even the betrayers. They may come into a town, go to the local temple, and buy out all of the healing potions that the clerics have in stock. They may throw around gold like it's candy or murder hobo their way right.
If your character buy all the potion in the temple, like, well, that means you have like a pretty high magic setting. Like if there's like eating potion to be sold in large quantity, so that's something to not something I'm a fan as well. And if you adventure like if you had a PC throw gold around like it's candy, like you said, that is something that would have a definite impact on the world. Spain went through that when they brought back a bunch of gold from the New World. It crashed their economy. But if you get to that point, that you're definitely giving the PC too much gold. If they spend it in an inconsiderate manner, Like if they gave like a gold piece for a pint of beer in a bar, something that would be like 1,000 times more than the actual cost, you already destroyed the economy for the player. You made gold meaningless, and don't do that.
Right through town. A character may rise from a race usually hostile to humanity to become a hero of the kingdom, or be of a traditionally admired class only to abuse their power or accidentally decimate a city. It's up to you, the game master, to decide how these activities affect the campaign and the world. However, here's the thing. The scope and impact of characters' actions is going to change over the course of the game. When characters are low level, the change that they are able to affect on the world is limited to the local town perhaps. However, as they grow in power and levels, their impact on the world will be greater. Now, 5th edition.
Yeah, now he's touching about something I talked before when I was saying that it was advised for higher level play, and maybe everything for him is kicked up the notch a bit because he's playing 5e, so the characters start much more powerful. Before they did anything, they're already like above everybody else, and they don't have this phase of being nobodies, and that's a shame really. But in that optic, yeah, maybe I can see that they would impact a village from the start of the campaign.
Edition defines the tiers of play as follows. Local heroes are levels 1 through 4, heroes of the realm are levels 5 through 10, masters of the realm are levels 11 through 16, and masters of the world are levels 17 through 20. These titles are meant to provide the game master guidance on the scope of the character's adventures and the extent of their influence on the world. The game master can use these levels to impact the game world's evolution based on their actions. As the campaign progresses through the tiers, the game master should consider the good and bad implications of the player's choices and resulting character actions. Now, what we're going to do here is first briefly discuss each of the 4 tiers of play, touching on the sorts of evolutions in the game world a game master might bring about in each of them. And then we're going to discuss 10 different categories of change that a GM can make in their game world. These 10 categories will give us some more tangible and implementable ideas for changes that we could make to the world.
I'm gonna skip ahead a bit because now he's gonna have an ad, and he's doing a lot of like this telling, oh, what I'm gonna tell you about, like just get to the point. His video is like pretty long, 17 minutes. It's a bit much. A little skit there.
Okay, look, Zach, I have no idea what that was. Let's just start talking about the 4 tiers of play and get on with this. Tier 1, local heroes. Now, at this tier, the character's actions resulting from the player's choices gain them fame and influence on the local scale. This could mean a town, city, or local region, but the impact isn't likely to extend beyond that. Nevertheless, there are plenty of opportunities for the character's actions to influence the game world long.
Talks a lot, and he say like very basic thing, like this video could have been cut by a third easy, like maybe like if you take out the advertisement, it could have been cut by half.
Long term. A town that is no longer being threatened by local orc tribes can prosper and grow into a bustling city in a matter of years. A city freed from a corrupt priest secretly running an infernal cult under cover of a mighty temple to a benevolent goddess can result in a void of religious power that finds itself filled by a new faith that could change the entire course of their social development. And a region that suddenly finds itself saturated with adventurers' gold could see a long-term boom in their economy or crash, leading to economic ruin. Or what if that region, suddenly rich with the gold of adventurers, that have now moved on to bigger places and things, attracts the attention of a red dragon that wants that wealth for itself? An ancient or adult dragon can drastically reshape a region's.
Those are not bad example. You know, the cold, that with the power vacuum, the dragon that come in. They're a decent example. It's just like I don't know. Does this have to be stated? Like, or cannot people like come up with stuff on their own? Do they really have to be the 5e GM really have to be like I don't know. Maybe I've been GMing for too long and I forgot what it is to be new. Like coming up with a story on your own that is kind of basic.
Politics, population, and landscape. The evolutionary effects of the player's choices don't have to be the most logical course of action in worlds of fantasy and wonder, but they should be wondrous and fantastic.
Don't have to be the most logical course of action in world of fantasy and wonder. That's why your players don't care about the world, because the world doesn't make sense. That's the problem right there. It should be logical. There should be like if it's not logical, like if you're play, especially when you're talking about like having something that impact your that follow from your player action, it must follow from your player action in a logical manner. If it doesn't, then you're just it come out cheap, and yeah, that's gonna make the player not care.
Oh, and by the way, if you'd like to have the written version of all of this information right here, it is included in the 14 and 15 and it features several new characters enter the second tier of play. Their
more ad.
influence expands to the entire realm. Now, the concept of a realm isn't clearly defined, nor should it be, as it means different things to different settings and campaigns. Usually, a realm is considered a kingdom, empire, or collection of cities. Still, it could be a small collection of widespread duchies in conflict with each other. The entire
Yeah, can you please explain me what a realm is? You know, like, he's rehashing a lot of the stuff like this, like, I don't know, it's just like, it's
coastal region of a continent, or a massive desert, and the many nomadic people who wander its sun-beaten landscape. Regardless of how the realm is defined, the impact of the character's decisions will affect the world on a larger scale. It's less likely that adventurers throwing around money will affect the region's economy, and more likely that the character's actions need to be more significant and more overt to have a more lasting impact. But that's fine, because at this level, that's precisely what the characters should be doing. Freeing the roads from a bandit queen, rather than a few highwaymen. Unseating evil kings, and bringing an end to a coastal herd of Puritans hunting the crews of merchant ships. Now, if the statistics are to be believed, most campaigns end in this tier or shortly into the next. So this is often where a game...
Yeah, campaign end in this tier, but most of them also begin in this tier, because apparently for the 5e crowd, it's very common to begin at level 3 or 5. Like, and not only like the player at level 1 are much more powerful than what would be equivalent, like they would maybe equivalent to a level 3 or 5 character in the older edition, but they don't even actually play those levels. It's a shame, really like rubbing themselves in my favorite part of the game anyway.
Master must focus their efforts on evolving the world. Because of that, it is even more vital for them to think about the impacts of their players' choices in this tier. The end of the Bandit Queen or Puritans will allow caravans and trade to flow more readily. However, it also changes the predator-prey dynamic of that region, and nature abhors a vacuum. After all, the players should see the benefits of their victories as the world evolves.
Is that like the second or third time you said nature aboard a vacuum?
But the next campaign will still need adventures for them to undertake as well. Tier 3, Masters of the Realm. The most noticeable difference is often that those in power are no longer hiring the characters to solve their problems, but are seeking the characters' advice on solving those problems. The heroes have transitioned from agents to advisors, often given the freedom to act on behalf of the leadership of a nation.
I feel like he's rehashing a lot of the stuff that he already said, or stuff that can be easily deduced from what he said. Maybe his audience is like really dumb and every point has to be explained in detail. Like, you can skip the step and be confident that the viewers will fit it in. Anyway, it's just like, I find it so annoying in a YouTube video.
Without direct request. It may be time to hunt down that red dragon that has taken over that region where the game started. More likely, the time has come for old enemies to return, allies to come together to face their destinies, and the hero's final battle against the big bad of the campaign to bring their machinations to an end or fail in the attempt. Regardless of the events, the repercussions of the player's choices should impact the realm for generations to come. When the heroes finally confront the big bad of the campaign, how will that day be remembered? Will their victory become a future holiday celebrated across the kingdom? Will the fallout of that battle be long felt in the region as a zone of wild magic springs up around the Lich's now shattered phylactery? Or will their defeat turn the entire kingdom into a necropolis led by a terrible Archlich? While the consequences of the player's choices, good and bad, don't have a broader reach in this tier than the previous, they should have.
This is again like not a terrible advice. You go back to face like previous enemies that were too strong for you at the time. You tie up loose end and stuff like that. You become like well-known heroes and legend in your own right. So yeah, that's fair. It's just like, again, like way too wordy.
Have a more significant impact. Tier 4, Masters of the World. As players enter the final tier of play, their characters are practically demigods, at least compared to the rest of the world. The scope of their adventures and the influence of their actions are world-spanning.
I don't know why there's a delay there in the pause. And if you make it to this tier, now is the time to get weird. You get into the Cosmic and Planner adventure, and he said that the tier is referred to Master of the World, so you should face threat that really threaten the world or reality itself. It should be at this tier of play like adventure that are so outside the realm of normalcy that the average commoner in the world doesn't even have a clue of that it's even happening. This is where the world can be fundamentally changed. If your world made sense at the start, now it's time to include the weird element, and this weirdness can and maybe should be a result of the PC's action. You don't really have to justify it if you keep like you keep thing you've kept things internally consistent, but now like because of the player doings, you can break it a bit, because you don't have to justify it to the player. They'll justify it for themselves because they know that, oh, things are getting weird because of what we've done. And if you do another campaign in the same world thereafter with the same player, you can advance the world by a couple of years and keep the weirdness that has been created. And then a lot of the heavy lifting has been done for you, and the player will be invested because they remember the previous campaign. Even if their new character doesn't know about all this, then it can be a question of metagaming, but that's for a different video. And this second campaign you do in the same world could have like an overall arch of bringing back some normalcy to the world. So that's what I think about this higher tier of play and the kind of adventure you can go on. Let's see what he has to say.
Of their actions are world-spanning. They should have widespread effects. Major nations rise and fall. Lesser deities fall as new ones rise to replace them, and magical cataclysms change the world forever. The Game Master should be prepared to evolve the world in ways that can be reflected for many campaigns to come, and perhaps more importantly, should be willing to do so. At this tier, players' choices impact the world that the Game Master has created or adapted for their own. At this point, more than any other, the Game Master must be willing to let go of their baby and let the characters.
You see here, like previously I criticized in the lower tier. I criticized he was like going too far, but now I almost feel like he's not going far enough, because if you make it to those levels, like it's not like, oh, we're changing the, like I say, like it's not only the world. It's like you can change the nature of reality at this point. It's time to get weird. Like that's the reward you got for going to this whole campaign. That's how you can keep it interesting, because you already like dealt with like mundane threat for 17 level or 15 level or something like that. Now it's time to go into weirder stuff. And at this tier of play, the kick down the door and kill the monster and pick up the loot doesn't really work anymore. You have to engage your player on a deeper level, on a higher level. Like that's the where you want to have them make some choice and have some question about their choice.
Actions help it grow. Now, this can be difficult for some game masters, especially those who have grown attached to their creations, but it is an important lesson and task if the players are to feel that their choices truly matter. You know, hopefully by now players are making good choices that promote positive growth and change in the world. The orc who turned their back.
You see, now he's talking about like a positive choice, and especially at this level of play, I don't really like when there's a clear good and bad choice. Everything in life is about like sacrifice and trade-off, and you want to let your player figure out what is the best possible outcome, but they have to understand that there's no one outcome that is all positive. If you do that, you kind of like robbing them of some of the engagement they could have.
Back on their race's dark gods has the chance to show the world that not all orcs are evil. In a world where magic is feared or mistrusted, the wizard has their moment to demonstrate that is only as good or bad as the person who wields it. But on the other side, bad choices will have the same level of effect. That same wizard, should they decide to cast fireball in a town square filled with innocent civilians, could cause arcane magic to be outright illegal in the future. Victories will be celebrated.
Like this is like having the magic being illegal because a wizard cast a fireball in the town square. That should be in the tier before. Like that's too low level for like now when you're like you shouldn't like, oh, making the magic illegal shouldn't be concern you at this level, because you're gonna do whatever the fuck you want to do
worldwide, but defeat can result in the literal end of the world. By the way, if you're finding the information in this video helpful, please give me a thumbs up and leave a comment for the algorithm down below. Let us know how you evolve your world based on character actions.
Do that to me. Leave a thumbs up and put a comment.
How exactly to evolve a game world? Now, providing concrete rules on how to evolve a game world is nearly impossible. Every world is different, every campaign distinctive, and there is no limit to players' choices. Nevertheless, here are 10 categories of changes that you may wish to consider. These are areas in which you should think about evolving your world based on player character actions. Number 1, change in political power. The political leadership.
It's convenient that it's like 10 category of change that can like, oh, it just happened to turn to 10. You didn't like inflate this list to make it happen, to make it 10 to 10. You know, I'm sure there's not going to be like anything that is repeated on there.
leadership of a region changes hands. The leader of a region changes their attitudes or beliefs, or unjust law is changed, all for the betterment or detriment of society. Number 2, change in religious power. The religious leadership of a region changes hands. One faith loses prominence as another takes its place, or the morality of the region takes a turn for the better, all for the betterment or detriment of society. Number 3, change in regional economy. Dwindling commerce in the region is restored. A new guild comes into prominence, or an austere region with poor living conditions is given an economic boost that improves the lives of its citizens. Or a major trade route is destroyed, a powerful guild upon which a city is dependent closes its doors, or a prosperous society suffers massive economic devastation. Number 4, change in social.
There's a lot of things that he said there already, like a lot of things like he used the same example over and over again for different part of the video. And I love those things like, does he really need to say like the more than a change of attitude, maybe one line to like, he's going for a minute, like, oh, I don't know how much time, but it's going way too long on every point.
Social attitudes. A race or class previously shunned gains a positive reputation. Dangerous activities once considered acceptable are rejected by the populace. Or a self-serving noble becomes more charitable. Or new prejudices rise or old ones deepen against a race or class of adventurer. Harmful
like even in there, like even in this point 4, like the first example he gave is the same one as this example he gave now. Like, oh, prejudice, and then oh, he's going back to prejudice, and he's repeating himself so much, like so much. It's like trying to fill it. Like the video is already 17 minutes long. You don't have to inflate it more than that. Maybe for adding more ad, I don't know.
Activities once taboo are embraced by a society, or fear descends upon a once content people. Number 5, change in military posture. A poorly defended region has its military bolstered. An oppressed region is now free to restore its martial autonomy, or a beleaguered and besieged army has been relieved. Or war leaves a region's military in shambles and ripe for conquest. A draft is implemented forcing families to surrender their eldest children to the military, or martial law is declared in a region. Number 6, change in regional environment. A plague, famine, or drought is ended. Powerful, unpredictable storms become a thing of the past, or the sun finally rises on an eternal winter. Or flourishing farmland is raised and salted, leaving an agricultural society in ruins. Unseasonable weather brings a region to a commercial standstill, or a shift in the tides floods a coastal city. Number 7, change in underworld influence. A powerful thieves guild is brought down, a powerful bandit nation's influence is ended, or a despicable leader of the local thieves is replaced by someone more moderate or philanthropic. Or a notorious thieves guild gains political power. A lazy bandit king is succeeded by a violent and ambitious rival, or a philanthropic leader of the local thieves is replaced by a greedy sociopath. Number 8, change.
Like in this Underworld influence, they're all the same thing. They all like, he gave like, I don't know, like 5 examples, like, but basically all the same thing. Oh, there's a change in leadership, or there's a, like, yeah. Like I'm new to creating content on YouTube, and like, do you really have, like, they're not bad examples, but do you really have like to spell it all out like this? You know, I try to be respectful of your time, but should I rehash like everything like that and state the obvious constantly? I assume my audience is somewhat intelligent. Luke seemed to be doing the opposite here. He seemed to be like thinking like he's talking to morons. Maybe he is. Maybe morons shouldn't be DM. I don't know.
In regional ecosystem. An ecosystem is stabilized as a dominant, powerful predator ceases to be an issue. A benevolent dragon replaces a tyrannical one. Or a pestilence affecting livestock finally ends. Or a powerful predator dies and opens the door to something worse. A fishing community finds their waters empty of.
Like, again, it's repeating the same example with just like, oh, instead of like, oh, a dragon replace another dragon, or maybe like a predator worse than the before replace. Yeah, it's the same thing. You just said that.
Fish. Or the death of a predator causes an intrusive overpopulation of herd animals. Number 9, change in the arcane. A region of wild magic is stabilized. Tears in the fabric of space, allowing demons to cross into the mortal world, are mended. Or the nature of magic is changed to make it easier to wield. Or magic is destabilized, causing unpredictable surges of wild magic. The fabric of space is torn open, causing an influx of unseelie fae. Or the nature of magic changes, making it more difficult to control. Number 10,
like now he's talking about like, he gave the example of like, oh, a tear that bring an influx of demon. And another example is a tear that bring an influx of fae. Like, yeah. Oh, can it be like, you know, sometimes like I feel like it's like I'm telling you about like, oh, a shirt. And I say like, you know, a t-shirt can be many different colors. It can be red, it can be blue, it can be yellow. And then you say, like, oh, but can it be green? Can it be pink? Can it be brown? Do I have to state like every different color? Or you can like like, you know what I mean? That's the way this example. That's how it feels. It's just like, it's maddening to me. I don't know. It came like from I came from talking about the advice he's giving, which are not bad advice so far, and not like but no, it's more like about the style of the video.
Difficult to control. Number 10, change in regional geography. A raging river is dammed and brought under control. A new mountain rises into the sky, bringing new resources to the surface. Or an arid valley becomes agriculturally viable. Or an earthquake separates a town from its protectorate. A population is eradicated and their city left in ruins. Or a mountain range falls into the sea forever, altering the coastline. Now, if you want to learn 7 world-building secrets to avoid dull and lifeless settings...
No, I don't. That's enough for now. That's enough with the... But like I said, the advice weren't bad, but like, damn it, this video could have been condensed. Like, there's so... maybe it was useful for information for a new GM. Maybe I've been like GMing for too long and I forgot what it is to be new. But, man, that's a... Anyway, the start of the video was a bit rough, but as it went, it became like more reasonable. But then at some point, it became like so repetitive. And also another thing that I had trouble with probably come from him coming from with a 5e mindset. But overall, it wasn't like a terrible video. So I guess I would give him the DM Lair passing grade here on the DM advice. So anyway, that's I wanted to try this reaction video thing. Apparently, it's popular on YouTube. I don't know. I'm playing. Am I really playing the game? Maybe I am. I probably could have like find something like more stupid to begin with, but I didn't want to just like bash on somebody that's obviously retarded either. Just like, so I hope you still find some use of this video, and thank you for watching. Let me know what you thought about it in the comment down below, and have a good day and take care.